The lights were hot, the cameras live, and the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Pam Bondi sat quietly, her face composed, but her knuckles white as she clutched the pen in her lap. Across from her, Representative Adam Schiff leaned into his microphone with a smirk that barely masked his disdain. "Frankly," he said, his voice sharp and confident, "Ms. Bondi's legal arguments are not just incorrect, they're a joke. A dangerous joke." A murmur rippled through the studio. The host froze. The panel of analysts shifted uncomfortably, but Pam didn't flinch. Not on the outside. Inside, though, the comment landed like a gut punch. It wasn't just an insult. It was years of her hard work, dismissed. Her courtroom wins, her tireless hours fighting for victims, her integrity, all boiled down to one derisive word. A joke. But this wasn't the first time Pam had been underestimated. Pam Bondi grew up in Tampa, Florida, in a family that didn't have much money, but had something more important: values. Her father, a city councilman, taught her that standing up for what was right wasn't always popular, but it was always necessary. She carried that lesson through law school and into her role as Florida's Attorney General, where she became known for taking on powerful corporations, battling opioid manufacturers, and defending victims of fraud and abuse. Still, no matter how high she climbed, the criticism never stopped. Her appearance, her voice, her politics. And now, on one of the most watched political shows in the country, she was being ridiculed not for what she said, but for who she was. Back in the studio, there was a long silence. The host stammered, unsure how to proceed. Adam Schiff sat back in his chair, clearly satisfied. The moment seemed to be his. But then Pam Bondi leaned forward. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't lash out. What she did was far more powerful. "You know, Congressman," she began, her voice even but unwavering, "I've been called worse. A lot worse. And every time, I've shown up the next day and done my job. Not because it's easy, but because I owe it to the people I serve, not to be liked, but to be honest. And yes, sometimes honesty makes people uncomfortable." The room quieted further. The producers stopped speaking into earpieces. The audience leaned in. Pam continued, "You can call me a joke if it makes you feel better. But while you were giving speeches in Washington, I was in courtrooms helping women who'd been trafficked, seniors who'd lost their life savings, and parents whose children overdosed on pills they were told were safe. If that makes me a joke, I'll wear the title with pride." Adam Schiff's smile faded slightly, and his eyes flickered down to his notes. Pam's words weren't shouted, but they carried weight. A calm, collected power that came from lived experience, not political theater. She went on, "What you just did isn't about me. It's about every young woman watching this, thinking about whether she should speak up in a room full of men who might not take her seriously. It's about every person who's ever been talked over, dismissed, or laughed at for daring to believe they belong." She paused, just long enough. "And I'm here to tell them they do." A single clap echoed from the audience. Then another, and another. Within seconds, the room erupted. Not with partisan cheers or political slogans, but with something rare: respect. Even Schiff, visibly unsettled, gave a slow nod. The host finally cut in, voice thick with emotion. "That was powerful. Thank you, Ms. Bondi." The clip went viral within minutes. Not because it was loud, or scandalous, or dramatic, but because it was real. People from all sides of the aisle shared it. Women wrote in droves about how they'd felt what Pam described. Young girls posted reaction videos, some with tears in their eyes, saying they finally saw someone stand up with grace and grit. But for Pam, it wasn't about going viral. It wasn't even about Adam Schiff. It was about using her voice in the moment it mattered most. And proving, once again, that strength isn't in the volume of your words, but in the truth behind them. Don't let anyone tell you that your voice doesn't matter. Whether you're in a courtroom, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own living room. What you say, how you carry yourself, and how you treat others defines your power. People may laugh, interrupt, or call you names. But if you know who you are and why you do what you do, nothing can silence you. Pam Bondi wasn't just defending her reputation that day. She was defending yours, too.